I'll be one of the leads for, it's a course that every cadet at West Point has to take called PL 100.
Wow.
It's the psychology of leadership course. So whether you are a psych major or not, you have to take it.
That's
So for 3 years, I literally get to teach, coach, mentor, and develop every cadet that walks through those doors that, someday when I'm 80 years old or turn on the TV, maybe the Joint Chiefs of Staff
or
or the
president.
president or the president of the United States, right?
Welcome to the Captains and Coaches podcast. We explore the art and the science of leadership through the lens of athletics and beyond. I'm your host, Tex McQuilkin, and today we find ourselves back at Summer Strong with Dr. Allison Brager, a neurobiologist whose journey from elite athlete to military leader to educator embodies the transformative power of purposeful movement. As a former CrossFit Games competitor and Army team member, who's now heading back to West Point to teach leadership psychology, Allison brings a rare perspective on what authentic fitness really looks like beyond the social media highlight reels. In this conversation, we explore the evolution from competitor to coach, the critical importance of building an identity beyond athletic performance, and how the lessons learned under the barbell translate directly to leadership in life. Allison shares hard-earned wisdom about avoiding the pitfalls that derail young athletes, the reality behind fitness influencer culture, and why presence, not perfection, defines great leadership. Now, let's throw it out to Allison to help us raise the game. Ready, and break. Allison, we are live at Summer Strong 18.
Yes.
You're participating in all the fun events. You throw already. You're going to lift. And now we're listening and engaging to some amazing speakers.
Absolutely.
And you yourself are an amazing speaker and educator, and a wide range of athletic endeavors and experiences and professional development. So we got a lot to cover. We got a lot to learn. And we can start with where we connected through some fitness.
Yes, through something that calls itself the sport of fitness.
That's right. Interesting enough. And it's facing a lot of competitions lately. Pun intended here, with different roles.
Yes.
And yeah, you participated in the games. You've been at the top of that and continue to then just progress and evolve and find new adventures as an athlete, as a competitive person and educator. So, I mean, let's hit the ground running. Your perspective, your fun, your competition drive, like where did it all begin, and what's that connection with this sport of fun?
So I had wanted to be a professional athlete my whole life, and I was able to achieve that, ironically enough, through the Army, right? The Army had a CrossFit team. They still do. But I did that for 2, 3 years where that's all we did. Full time, dedicated training, competing around the country, the world until the world shut down. And then we went to states that didn't really believe in COVID to do competitions and all of that. But that was my life goal for a very long time, was to be an athlete, and I was very fortunate to do that, compete at the highest levels in track and field throughout college. Again, tried to make an Olympic team, never did, but it's okay. That's life. Same with CrossFit. I was able to compete in the CrossFit Games. But at some point, you got to give back, right? You got to be a leader and a coach and give back to the next generation. And that's my goal now, right? I sit on the safety advisory board for CrossFit HQ. I still coach in pole vault, gymnastics, mentor. I'll be doing that at West Point. To me, that's the evolution of an athlete.
Yeah, and continuing to grow and give back. And once maybe the body is not where it was competitively, now we aim to mentor, to lead, and almost try to teach the different perspectives and angles that we see as leaders to then, I mean, just beat some perspective into these younger athletes who think they're invisible until they're not.
Exactly. And plus, just don't make the same mistakes we did. I think in women's sports, the biggest mistakes we made because we didn't know better. And it's also because I was a gymnast since the age of 2, and I did dance as well as fueling, right? I was told that eating was bad, calories were not good. So we just thrived on nothing, right? Our body had to produce energy in order to exert energy. And honestly, the early days of CrossFit were like that. Like we were so dumb to follow the paleo diet to a T, thinking it was performance enhancing.
Hmm.
It's not. So like those are the other lessons that with young athletes and students I have that I try to impart on them is don't make the same dumb mistakes we did.
Hmm. And communicating that is much more difficult than just saying and telling them, don't make these same mistakes.
Hmm.
So, what do you feel is a good way to either show and tell or help lead them to a small lesson to develop this connection where they'll just take your word on everything because they believe and trust in you as a leader?
Well, I think it's easier now because of social media, right? Like they use that as their sort of sounding board and guide. And then I'm more or less there to do is this fact or is this fiction to provide the sanity
Mhm.
check. In the past, right, it was just more my word against theirs. Um, and that's why it's so important as a coach to establish that trust and rapport early on and establish credibility with them. But I think it's easier nowadays because they are getting exposed to a lot of this that, we weren't exposed to.
Hmm. And what's interesting is social media allows just highlighting these, I mean, fit, amazing looking people. And then the training that they're doing is not necessarily what got them looking amazing. And then people try to mimic said training because, oh, they equal 1 to 1.
Hmm.
But we know that's not the thing.
Oh, yeah.
So, what are some fun fads, coincidences, different trends that are out there that you're just like, "Ah, here we go again? Because you've been in it so long.
Yeah. Well, I will say first and foremost, I learned through being on the Army's CrossFit team that the people who are considered the most fit in the social media world, they literally take days to curate that content. And oftentimes they're not the athletes that you think they are. We had that when we sort of fought against it, but the Army decided to bring out like mainstream social media influencers in the fitness space. And it was just very disturbing to work with them because, what could have been 2 hours of content, taking them through the Army combat fitness test or taking them through an Army training exercise or a day in the life in the Army,
Mm.
ended up being like 4 or 5 days of filming because everything had to be perfect. Turns out they're not as athletic as you think they are. And like if they don't move, they don't speak, they don't act the way they want, it's like it's
Cut.
not good. Yeah, exactly. And
Next
so
take.
you realize that they truly spend their week just coming up with these strategic plans to generate the most likes and content. And I'm not saying I think everyone does that, but I think the most popular ones, that's what they're doing. And I can, say that with complete validity because I've worked with them.
Yeah, working with a lot of high school kids, they see that and then they
Yeah.
believe it's truth and reality. And what's interesting to me, I always try to figure out where they're going to school next, what do they want to study, and ask these underlying questions, not as a parent, just
Yeah.
coming from a coach, respectful position to maybe add value to what their parents are asking.
Yeah.
And then what do they want to do with their life? And
Yep.
there's a lot of, and I'm not kidding when I say this, want to be an influencer. I just want to make videos.
Hmm.
And it's like, what? Go study biology.
Yeah.
I don't know. Go try to be a
Exactly.
dentist. Something, anything.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you see that, okay, we'll go back to the sport of fitness. Like, I think one of the again, we can go into that why I don't really think of it as a sport of fitness. I think of it as a training methodology, i.e. CrossFit. But like you saw that in the CrossFit community, right? When I was started getting into CrossFit, competed in regionals, then eventually made it to the games. Well, all of us had competed with or against each other in college as uh, Division 1 all the way to Division 3 athletes. Like that's why I got into CrossFit because when I was in graduate school at the time, I would get kicked out of the weight room or the rec center for doing Olympic
Olympic,
lifts
yeah.
or plyometric balls and all of that. And I was like, I still want to do athletic things and feel like an athlete, not understanding that CrossFit was its own competitive space. But now you have this whole generation of, you know, new generation of CrossFitters. That's all they do. They don't go to school. They're not thinking about their education. They're just thinking about in the moment, just like these kids who want to be social media influencers. They're not thinking about long-term sustainability and financial stability for their family, for themselves, and like retirement.
Yeah, you actually just I had a flashback to an interesting conversation experience I had leading seminars for CrossFit, and I would meet kids that were homeschooled
Hmm.
so that they could spend more time within their local CrossFit gym training to then reach the games.
Yeah.
What I really need to do is now follow up because this is 2017.
Yeah.
And here we are 2025. Their
Close.
college window is over. Maybe they're there, maybe they're not because I don't stay connected to the competitive realm in that respect. So I'm gonna look that up. But then 2017, that was just blowing my mind. You're gonna
Yeah.
homeschool so you could exercise more,
Hmm.
but you're not playing team sports.
Right.
And like there's IMG Academy where I go to only play tennis and then maybe get 4 hours of school so I can get my GED, then go play tennis in college.
Right.
They were doing that, but for fitness.
Right. Exactly. It's not an Olympic sport. Right? I understand. That's the Olympic development model. I understand that. I've worked with kids in the Olympic development pipeline, right? That's what Simone Biles said. And it's a necessary trade-off of wanting to be an Olympian. But I think that's where I always struggle with this. Is like,
Mhm.
to me, CrossFit is still a training methodology. And actually, I laughed once when so, I am on staff and coach with Power Monkey Fitness, and I'm always humbled there, right? Because I am in the presence of giants, right? Everyone there, with the exception of me, is a former Olympian of some sorts or American record holder and stuff. And I remember one time,
But Wes Kitts, Captain and Coach's
yes,
podcast alum.
yes, Wes Kitts, amazing person. But Lindsay Shoup, she was a Olympic gold medalist, part of the first American boat to
Cool.
win in women's rowing in 2008. And I remember once she just blurted out, she's like, "Yeah, why would CrossFit be an Olympic sport? That's how us Olympians train." And it's like it made me laugh, but
Mhm.
I mean, it's true
Yeah.
in my opinion.
I we're aligned there. What is interesting, and I want to move towards goals because even today, I've met individuals whose their goal is to make it to the games.
Hmm.
So, I mean, the likelihood, the percentage of that is even less than making it to, I mean, the NBA,
Right?
which
Yeah.
is crazy, which is also mind blowing to me.
Right.
And at the same time, their personality, their identity is a CrossFitter,
Yeah.
and they're putting it out into the universe. They're going to make this, whatever 2026 years games.
Hmm.
What if it doesn't happen? Their whole identity will collapse in on itself.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that's really what we're starting to see already with this generation that has invested. Like they have a traumatic injury that is career ending, or they try to come back too soon. It's just they don't have that backup plan. You should always have a backup plan. That's why I love like Mike Tyson's quote, like everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. But the point of that is like, well, what's your backup plan even after you get punched in the face? Um, and I think one of the saddest things I started seeing in CrossFit were athletes who were Division 1 athletes, um, who were like, "You know what? I'm not gonna play football. I'm not gonna do this anymore. I wanna do CrossFit instead." Like, you have the rest of your life, and in fact, you're probably gonna be, like, a better athlete because, right, women, we start peak athleticism 29, 30. Same with men, right? It's like 26, 27. Like, you have the whole rest of your life to do CrossFit, and to me, having been a former D1 athlete, like having that opportunity to travel the country and to play sports around the country and the world, like for 4 years and not have any other responsibilities outside of being a good student, like best 4 years of, I feel, my
Oh yeah,
life. And
and
I still feel like I try to live the identity as a college athlete through serving in the army. Like that's what I tell people. Serving in the army is like being a college athlete all over again.
hmm Except you're paid. Well,
Except I'm paid very well.
correction.
Yes.
Now their kids are paid.
Yes, but I'm
Yeah.
also paid very well in the Army too.
Yeah.
So.
I concur. I mean, they're all best friends for life. And I
Yeah.
would have sacrificed that for just workout buddies, workout
Yeah.
partners.
Yep.
It's not the same.
It's not the same. You're not, we were talking about this earlier about like the 14-hour bus rides. Like those are the things you don't talk about. I'm sure it's different, but I remember every year we'd compete at the Duke Relays. So we drive from Providence, Rhode Island, and this is an Ivy League university. We would drive from Providence, Rhode Island to Duke on a 14-hour bus trip. We'd wait for the last person to get on the bus, and like we'd literally turn back and drive back to Providence through the night and stuff like that. But those memories and those bonds forged on trips like that, or like when we got to go to England to compete with Oxford and Cambridge. And I was 19 at the time. Drinking age in, England is 18. So it's like nice to, be legal and drink. And like those experiences we had, or just like, the late nights in the dining hall or tutor in the library and all that. Like you can't replace those
No.
bonds.
Dorms,
Yeah.
housemates,
Yep.
all of it.
Yeah.
Great experiences that are potentially lost for this goal. Timeout. Let's take 1 minute to talk training. I'm presenting to you the Old Bull program. This is the program that I am writing for myself, former collegiate athlete, former guinea pig of all sorts of training programs. I've seen and I've done it all, and my body is feeling it. In order to recover my joints, still continue to build muscle and look the part as a coach, leading the way, I'm offering you Old Bull programming. This is what I'm following. It is fun. I'm having a great time bringing in former athletes and colleagues into the party. Meet us out there for a 7-day free trial. Click the links in the show notes to give the Old Bull program a run. Now, back to the show. Ready, and break. You're taking on a new goal this year at West Point.
Yeah.
And I really want to unlock this course just for our listeners. And then where do goals come into play? So as a leader, you see potential or you create potential in an individual where they didn't think they could make this.
Yep.
So almost we help them see or create goals that they want to accomplish. And now you're going to be working with these college age students that are going to go on and to do amazing things. Like, I know West Point is a different person, but at the same time, how are you going to help them understand their responsibility as leaders, creating goals for not only themselves, but start to introduce others to that as well?
So I think it goes back to like some of the things we talked about here at Summer Strong, and what Sergeant Major Payne, the Medal of Honor recipient, was talking about yesterday was like, inspiration. And that's one of the things I am very fortunate enough to do when I go there is I'll be one of the leads it's a course that every cadet at West Point has to take called PL 100.
Wow.
It's the psychology of leadership course. So whether you are a psych major or not, you have to take it. So for 3 years, I literally get to teach, coach, mentor, and develop every cadet that walks through those doors that, someday when I'm 80 years old or turn on the TV, maybe the Joint Chiefs of Staff
Or
or
president.
or the President of the United States, right? And so that to me is just a really cool opportunity. And then again, carrying on that inspiration into varsity sports. So more than likely, I will be one of the academic advisors, you could say, for the men's gymnastics team. So one of their high-level teams where they have kids who are in the Olympic development pipeline, may have served time on the national team, and just providing them with that mentorship and that guidance in terms of like, okay, this is how you can be successful now, but this is really how, the years of dedicated time and service to your craft now and the discipline and the other attributes and values you've acquired from being a varsity athlete, that's how you will be successful in life thereafter. And that's really what I see myself doing at West Point, is just inspiring the next generation to take their intelligence and their initiative and their drive and to do good in the world.
Mm-hmm. And they're going to be learning and practicing and just making it instinct a lot of behaviors that are foundations for leadership.
Mm-hmm.
So now from your experience, and then what are you going to take to the students that are these small wins, these small behaviors that then stack up to amazing things, whether they realize it or not?
So when it comes to leadership, I don't know if it's because I haven't thought about it or read about it or am educated enough about leadership, but to me, leadership is simple. And when I look at some of the greatest leaders in my life, what is one overlapping factor of all of them? They're all coaches, right? Whether it's a high school coach, a college coach, even one of my CrossFit coaches when we were competing and training for the games, like those are people that I would follow into battle. And I think it comes down to like their attributes, right? Big one is presence, right? They were there and they wanted to be there. They dedicated their time, and they showed passion and compassion. The other thing is like they were hard on us, but not for the reason to be mean or ugly, because they knew that we could do better. And so they would, craft sometimes like what they said to make us do better.
Hmm.
I think my college track coach, I credit her to like who I am in life. I dedicated my book Meathead to her. She was 4'9", all right, maybe 4'10", like tiny little old white woman. Like she's like anyone's cute little grandma. But
Hmm.
she can make men who are like 6'2", 6'3", like massive humans completely break down and cry. She had that, because she had carried that commanding presence,
Hmm.
that they overlooked her statue. And her being their coach as a female, like an older female.
Hmm.
And like that's why, she's a legend today in the sport of track and field. And like any alum of Brown who was under the reign of Anne and her husband Berg, like they still regard her as the most influential person in their life. Because she always wanted us to do better. Like when we had a bad meet, I used to remember she'd always say, like, if we started making excuses, like coulda, shoulda, woulda, you didn't do it.
Hmm.
So figure it out, you
Right.
know?
Yeah, I love that. The presence that does take, I mean, it takes confidence, it takes reps, it takes years.
Mhm.
So even looking at these 100 level people, have you had a vision yet or approach that you're going to try to take to then teach presence? Is it a fake it till you feel it kind of thing?
I think that's what it's a fake it to your you feel it, right? But or just trust your gut. That's what I think it comes down to, like that
Mm.
intuition piece that Sergeant Major Payne was talking about yesterday. It's just like that trust in your gut, that how your life turned out, and if you're content with it, like that's how you impart on the next generation.
Hmm.
So those lessons I learned, thanks to all my, parents, mentors, coaches, just trust that it's going to be the same with this generation. Because I think people at the end of the day will follow those who do care, who literally will, die on the sword for them or die on the hill.
Hmm.
It's the same thing like when I was a company commander in the army, like people always try to give me advice in terms of like how to do it and what to do, especially since, I was a direct commission. I didn't grow up in the army. But at the end of the day, I literally just took the same strategy that my high school track coach, also a very successful coach, nationally renowned, took, and then what Anne instilled in me, and I just led my troops like, you know, Coach Gorski and Coach Rothenberg used to, lead us.
Yeah, and that is the beauty of coaching and leading. You're taking all these lessons, personalities, mannerisms, stories, experiences, and then adding your own style to
Yep.
it.
Yeah, and I think, I've read a few leadership books here and there, and at the end of the day, it's not like a peer-reviewed scientific manuscript. Like these leadership books are anecdotal stories.
Hmm.
That's all they are just like different life experiences where they had to take initiative and have intuition and inspire people, and make hard decisions. And it's just a recounting of that. And to me, leadership is learned. It's not really taught. I mean,
But
yeah,
until now.
that's until now, right? Yeah.
you're going to put them in a position to experience the different lessons, and then
Right.
they get to feel it, and then hopefully embody that and take it and turn it into their own style.
Exactly. Like I see more or less this course is like, sure, there's curated content we have to teach and there's a textbook. And it really is just like a psychology, introduction to psychology course through the lens of military operations.
Mm-hmm.
But in teaching the course, it's just going to be a lot of shared stories. And you know what? They want to have gotten into West Point.
Right.
Because right, in order to get into any military academy, you have to have the endorsement of your congressional representative. They wouldn't have gotten to that point without having some life experience, traumatic or some setback in life, to get there.
And then even the lesson there and the ask is to take experiences and turn them into experience.
Yep.
If that makes sense.
Yep.
So that I like that there. One thing I do want to highlight for coaching, and you said presence, and this triggered something that I learned from one of my mentors, Rafael Ruiz. We had to sign a pipe pledge when coaching with him. So this is to responsibility of a coach and physically sign it. So the pipe was presence, IQ, professionalism, and EQ. And representing like, I'm going to do my due diligence to understand the demands of the sport, etc., IQ. Then professionalism, I'm going to model a lot of the behaviors that I'm going to ask of these athletes versus being hypocritical. And then EQ, like remembering these are humans.
Yep.
So with big goals, but they also got lives outside of the said time that we're training.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I think I love that as a coach because professionalism, right? Like you're not there to be their friend at all, right? Like even my soldiers, right? I stay in touch with soldiers that I've commanded over the years, but I'm not there to be their friend. I'm there to make the unit successful and them to be successful professionally and personally, but you know.
So talk us through that experience, because this first-time leaders, a lot of the things I speak about within the captains and coaches realm is that entry-level leadership. So your first time as a team captain, you go from, hey, buddy, we're on the same level, to now, I got to start calling you out for your stuff instead of just making fun of you.
Yeah. So I think I started having that experience not actually before I became a company commander, which really is like your first entry level of leadership, at least in the Army. But when I was chief of the Sleep Research Center at Walter Reed, which I believe is when we first met, it was the same thing where it was very humbling because I literally was the boss of someone who used to be the deputy of an institute at the NIH. Like he was the deputy of the National Institute of Mental Health, and I was in charge of him. But then I also had colleagues of mine. We grew up in science together. We went to grad school, postdoc together. You know, we hung out at conferences together. And so, right, I had to separate myself then and be like, I'm in charge of you. And like, yes, like I will be fair. At the end of the day, I have to be fair and unbiased. And so you cannot have hard feelings if I make this decision and it's not in favor of you, because I am focused on the mission and like where people and where talents need to go in order to make the mission successful. So it really is like, I think entry level leadership is always the most challenging because you have the most people who are at your level, and you may have known from your past at that time. And so you have to be really disciplined about not going back into the friend zone, and favoring people because you shared previous life experiences with them.
Yeah, friend zone. Nobody wants to be there.
Nope. No.
Time out. Tex here at Train Heroic headquarters, meeting with the team to talk about the coaching experience that I'm able to provide for my athletes. So if you're a coach and want to put your program out there on an app that athletes actually enjoy using, Train Heroics for you. I've been using it since 2014, delivering literally over tens of thousands of workouts to athletes, and the Train Heroic allows me to provide the unique coaching experience that I want to. Uploading video, providing coaching feedback, directions, and building a community. That's why I love Train Heroic. And if you want to take your athletes where they can't take themselves, that they want to go,
Head to trainheroic.com/captains and check out how you can deliver programming to them. And now, back to the show. Ready, and rip.
This weekend has, as you know, Dex, has been really, really hard for us because we lost one of our coaches who was headed here. He unfortunately was killed on impact in a motorcycle crash early yesterday morning. And so there is a GoFundMe page for Nick Vitale and his, surviving family. So his wife and his 2-year-old daughter, Emerson. I know that we'll probably do a shirt fundraiser, much like we did for other coaches who have supported and given their selfless service to the special operations community. But, we made a decision to stay this weekend. We know Nick would have wanted it. Um, you know, I think, fitness and competition, that's what we all live for. And I, you know, I think it's we'll get through it, but we have definitely been very appreciative of all the support the community has given us.
And
So
I'll put a link to that in the
sure.
show notes
Yep.
for people to take the action step on there. And I mean, it's representative of Coach. He gave everything he had to the team.
Yep.
He was starting that to raise that family, but he still had family outside of that within the community and was doing what he could to be here. So
Yeah.
it's
Well, it's funny you say that because or I'm not funny, but I'm thankful you said that because that's what one of the sergeant majors of the Army's larger holistic health and fitness program was saying yesterday. He's like, that's the thing, like when something happens to even our coaches within the military, not to dismiss death of like our own soldiers or our peers, or people who do serve in the military, but it hits differently because, they are our relief from the stress and the demands of military life. Right? We go to coach either in the morning or after work, right? And it's part of us getting better as humans, maintaining our physical fitness, but also just right when we see them, like automatic positivity because we know that stressful, demanding part of our military day is over. And so they leave, I think, a greater impact and they also inspire us in ways that I think leaders and peers and our work colleagues can never.
yeah.
And I agreed with them. It's like, yeah, it feels a lot harder. I mean, unfortunately, I have lost soldiers before, but it hits differently because he was a coach.
Yeah. And then I mean movement, leadership is so connected.
Yep.
So even when it doesn't feel like he's leading or guiding, when we're in stressful situations in a workout underneath the barbell,
Yeah.
like he's helping solidify that you are capable of handling that stress outside of the
Yep.
weight room
Exactly.
and
Yep.
making that connection. That's what a coach does. Like this is training for life.
Yep. Yeah, well, like when we were talking to Travis earlier today, I love, that Carl Johnson quote that he quoted was, the only way to have a real conversation with people is through beer and a barbell, right? Like that's where you're gonna get the ground truth. In those states of like vulnerability, and I think a lot of hard things mentally are forged through hard physical training and that coaching and guidance through it.
I believe it. Where can people continue to follow your journey, pick up the book, and then see the awesome things that you're always just taking on? Because it's endless goals, it's endless awesome.
So my book, Meathead, Unraveling the Athletic Brain, it just hit its 10-year anniversary, which is crazy. You can find that on Amazon. You can find me on Instagram at DocJockZZZ. I realized we didn't talk about another topic,
That's
but okay.
this is not the last time we'll
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
have any conversation. So
Yeah, that is true.
yes, give Allison a follow, and then I mean endless goals, and I'm excited for the West Point opportunity, and then even seeing how your teaching and perspective evolves as you go through 1, 2, 3 years, because growth is inevitable
Oh yeah.
as a teacher and a mentor.
Yep. No, absolutely. And then that's how it could be. It's like right? Like it could be like the Mike Tyson quote, like, I have my plan, but I might get punched in the face and I might have to completely change my plan, either on the spot or, year after year.
Yeah. Or Dead Poets Society, where you read the first chapter and then
That is true.
throw it out.
Yeah, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Leadership is chaos or whatever you want to spin it. So
Exactly. Yeah. There's no formula for leadership. I'm sorry. Yeah.
we'll end it on that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. And thank you.
Of
Since
course.
we're in person, we
absolutely.
can
Yes.
we
We can shake hands.
shake hands
Fist bump. There you go.
and scene.